everyone, my name is Becky and welcome to today's episode of Let's Talk About This. Today I am joined by the wonderful, crazy talented, absolutely fabulous, it's QUINN, everyone.
Hello, thank you for having me on the show. It's a very nice introduction there.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I definitely didn't pay you for that.
No, you didn't. You actually didn't pay me.
No.
So we're here today, to talk about scare acting because it's something that we've both done, isn't it? So,
absolutely. How long have you been doing it for now?
I've done it for, I want to say, roughly about 2 years. But, the future is long and I could be doing it for way longer. But what about you?
I've been doing it since 2012. So about 7 or 8 years now.
Oh, that's great. That's great. We're here to talk to you about it in case you're interested in something like that's what you want to do, and we're here to give you the real side of things, and the good stuff, the few bad things that there is, but
mostly the good stuff.
Yeah, mostly the good stuff because it is a great job, and like I say, we wouldn't return every single year if we didn't love it, so that's why we're here. But it's a great fun professional experience as an actor. Creates a lot of memories as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it creates memories and friends.
Yeah.
You look back at it and you just think, how did I meet you? And then it turns out you met in a job on a scare maze, and it's like, oh wow, we're still good, really good close friends now.
Yeah, 100%. It's, the people are incredible that you get to work with. You get to work with some really fantastic and talented people, and everyone that you work with is just fantastic, and you end up becoming really close friends, and you end up finding people that you're going to be friends with forever. Like, big shout out to any hillbillies that are potentially listening today. Not that anyone is listening from Southern America, but there you go. All right, so do you have any funny or stupid moments in the scare maze you worked in? Because I definitely do.
Funny or stupid moments? There's a lot of stupid moments.
Yeah.
But a stupid and funny moment, because it's kind of both. It was many, 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 many years ago. I was working in an attraction. It was a carnival-themed attraction where we had a dot man in a dot room, and it's basically like UV strobe lit up room with these. It was green, orange, and I want to say yellow, like bright spots everywhere on black canvas. And we wore a onesie that was exactly the same with the dots on. And there was 3 doors in there, technically 4, but 3 actual doors. There was 2 guestways, so they could get through, and then a rat run. Those of you that aren't familiar with the rat run, it's an actor's run where they go and hide and can get around the attraction without being seen by guests. So I was in that room, and I was like, oh, I need to go and get into the green room. I think I was going on break, so I was like, oh, I'll go into the rat run. So these guests are in the room, and I was like, oh, I need to disappear. They went towards the fake door, so I went through the rat run door, which was just literally like a plain black cloth cut out. And I ran into it, and I ran into it with my head first. So my forehead got crack against the door frame, and it sent me quite sick, actually.
Sounds painful.
It was painful, but looking back at it, it's really funny.
Yeah.
Because it's just this person that you can hardly see anyway, just knocking themselves out on a doorway, effectively. It's quite funny.
That's the funny thing about it. Like, you make so many memories, and majority of the time, like, there's times where you'll make a, like you say, you'll have an accident where you'll hit your head. And at the time, it will be, one of the worst things ever. But looking back on it, you have so many funny moments and, like, experiences that you're just never going to forget. Like, when I was younger, obviously, I never really turned around to my mum and said, oh Mum, I'm going to be a scare actor when I grow up, but it's definitely something that I can turn around to my future children and tell them exactly what their mum has done, and say that it's such a great thing, and I would encourage anyone to do it. I really would. I have to say, one of my funniest moments was like towards the end of the day of one of our attractions that we were in. It just happened to be that I was playing the character that is scripted, and it's where you interact with that character by yourself majority of the time. But this time, I was lucky enough to have 2 people with me who had finished, and they came over to help me out, just in case they wanted that little bit of extra scare. And big shout out to Chloe and Holly if you're listening. I have to say, these 2 have great skills, and when I say skills, I mean they act so well to try their hardest to make me laugh, and it's very hard to not laugh during these moments. But, you manage to style it out the best way you can, because that's one thing that you do learn during scare acting and rehearsals. You learn how to, style certain things out in case things go wrong, or, because you always want to show people that, you can still stay in character and that you can still create it as a believable experience for people. But I have to say, once those guests had gone, we all had a good laugh about it. And, it was one of the highlights of my scare acting in 2018. That's what I like about working it. You all just gel as a team, and it's really lovely to have memories like that. So what would you say your favourite year was, Kieran?
Oh, that's a very difficult one, because I've got many different favourite attractions for different reasons. So I don't really have a particular favourite year of acting that I've ever done.
Yeah.
Every year has been special in its own way. Maybe it's been a bit more fun than the norm, not as fun as the norm, because guests vary from year to year depending on where you're working as well. You might get hit at a particular event more than another event just because of the locality of where the guests are.
Yeah.
It all depends, but I don't know. I've had 2 standout years that have been fantastic. One would have been last year when I was working on Death Cell with Our Space Productions down in Greenwich. That was just incredible. But that was more than just scare acting. That was full immersive theatre. And the other one would have been in 2014 with The Sanctuary.
Yeah.
And that at Alton Towers there. That was just... Everything about that attraction was just perfect.
Yeah.
And really, when you look at it on paper, none of it should have worked. It should have been a really sort of standard. You just walk through, there's not much set, and it's like, oh, yeah, it's what it is. But the music of it, the set, everything just worked. None of it should have worked, but it did. That's the way I describe it. Because when you talk about the sections of it independently, you think, oh, yeah, okay, that sounds interesting. But when you put it all together, you think, well, that's not going to work, is it? That's just going to come out of nowhere. But when you actually went through it, everything just worked, and it was just beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are sort of the 2 sort of highlights, really, that stand out. And any time I think about it, those are the 2 that come to mind.
I have to say, the costumes and music are something that, they seem such the smallest parts of it all, really. But once you put your costume on, after being in it for long days, it can be uncomfortable. But once you finish working in that attraction, you do actually miss your costume. And it's the same with the music. You hear the music so much, and it's like your ears sort of relieve themselves after the end of the day because you've heard that music so much. But once it's over, you hear that music again, and you have a little sigh of sadness because it's over, and you don't want it to be over.
For me, the audio is such an integral part of the attraction. It can make or break an attraction, definitely can.
Yeah.
But you sort of tune out of it. When you're working in the environment, you just tune out of it. You don't hear the music. It's only when the music stops and you go, hang on.
Yeah.
Isn't there something playing normally?
Yeah.
I once actually, sort of goes back to the funny side of the story. I was working in a maze once where there was an electric chair, and every time that went off, there was a sound effect of the electric and lighting. And I just got so used to hearing it go off, I didn't notice when it wasn't working.
Yeah.
And the sound effects weren't working, and then the lighting stopped working. And they came round to just make sure everything was okay. I was like, oh, how's everything? I was like, yeah, it's all good. And then they noticed it wasn't working. I went, how long's that been off? And I went, hey, it's been off.
Yeah.
I just literally got so used to listening to it. But yeah, as soon as your contract ends, you're no longer working at a certain place or wherever it is, you literally start to miss the audio. Because you hear it in your head going round and round, and all you want to do is just put your headphones in or walk around the space and hear it again, and it becomes very much part of you, as well as the costumes. Like I say, some costumes are quite uncomfortable. It's always great to have good shoes.
Yeah, I have to say, I played a bride last year at one point, and the good thing about it is that when you're working in a maze that has multiple characters, multiple attractions, things like that, you get to alternate between the different ones. So, you get to experience different rooms, different physicalities and things like that. And it's great. Like I'd say, the bride dress was an actual bride dress. So, it's, you did get used to it, but it probably was the most uncomfortable out of all the costumes, really. But, it does work, and it looks good in the maze, and that's the main thing. You want to give that believable story to people. I will say though, a lot of people do see scare acting as just running around in a costume and shouting boo at people, but that's not it at all, is it?
No, not at all. There's a hell of a lot more to it than that.
Yeah.
There's lots of different types of scare as well. In terms of styles, we sort of in the industry sort of look at it as the universal scares. and then the UK sort of scares. So Universal scares, when you go through their attractions, their throughput is so much more bigger than ours because they have to. They have much mass volumes of guests than any independent screen park will have in the UK. It's just fact. There's only so many tickets you can sell in an evening in the UK, whereas in America, their attractions can have thousands of people an hour.
Yeah.
So they have a thing called a conga line, where basically you'll just go through in a giant conga line, and their actors that they do have in there don't say anything typically, and they have like one set movement, and that's them all day. They're basically an audio animatronic, but a human playing the audio animatronic, which is a shame because they could do a lot more because their sets are just something else.
Yeah.
They really are. And the good thing about, especially Universal, I mean, there are a lot of home haunts in America as well, which focus on lots of different themes and styles, but with Universal scare attractions, they have the IPs for the Universal franchise, the horror films, and you are immersed in their sets fully. Whereas in the UK, we spend more time and effort on everything equally. So the set might not be to an amazing standard, but the acting inside really sells the attraction, and that's what brings people back time and time again.
100%, yeah.
So a good actor can really make or break an attraction, as well as the audio, like I said before. If you've got a carnival maze that's just got the same soundtrack throughout all of it, but there's a scene that it doesn't work for, it'll be noticeable that the audio doesn't fit. And you can have an actor just running around doing what they want, just shouting boo. It isn't going to work.
Yeah.
It needs someone to be really on the ball and high energy. Is there a story to tell? If so, is that actor portraying the story? What kind of scares are they doing? Are they doing an impact to sustain, a mix of it? Are they doing a comedy scare, which is something only select mazes can get away with, which is bringing the energy up, so a full sense of security, to then bringing it back down to the hardcore scare. Works with a distraction scare, which is where typically you work in a pair. You can do it as more than two, or you can do it yourself, but typically you're in a pair. One of you will really, it's hard to sort of describe without showing people how it works, but one of you would typically maybe just stare at someone, stare them out whilst they're walking to you, and then disappear, while someone will creep up behind and get an impact in.
Yeah.
With not saying boo.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of teamwork, and it's a lot of hard work, and it's physically demanding as well. Cause, like,
it really is physically demanding.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody can do scaring. It's not exclusive to athletes, for example.
Yeah.
Is some mazes do require you to be more physical than others, but it's what you make of it. You can't expect someone to run around for 8 hours a day with, in cold conditions, because your body just won't allow it. You might be able to do it for a few hours at a time, but my advice to any scarer out there, or anybody scare, is if you are put in a situation in a room where you are required to do something that you can't do because you're getting too tired of it, physically, not mentally, not getting bored of it. If your body is telling you, I need to slow down here, slow down, pace it out, and mix up the scares, because there's nothing worse than going through an attraction. And you do get some people that go through attractions all day, just do the same ones because they just like it. If you change up the scares, you mix it, it makes each experience round completely different.
Yeah.
And it also makes sure that you don't get tired as a human.
Yes.
As well.
100%.
That doesn't mean be lazy with it at all. There is a massive difference between being lazy and working on your feet and really working the room.
Yeah.
If you're being lazy, you won't get the scares in. If you're working the room to the best of the ability and you're still getting those scares in, that's being initiative and really, really working with it.
Yeah. I have to admit as well, you've pretty much taught me everything I know from scare acting. Obviously,
we met at an attraction, didn't we?
Yeah. We met at an attraction called The Big Day, which was an independent company, and it ran for about, was it 2 days?
It was a few days, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't very long at all, but it's a great experience, and you taught me everything I need to know about that.
Because I came in and taught you guys, didn't I?
Yeah. And that was, that was a great start. But obviously, then going to work into the more professional attractions, shall I say, they were, putting everything that I could to the test. And, it was interesting to see just how my body coped. And, I found that I was actually getting healthier and fitter every single day. And, it was great fun. What I will say to add on to that is, if you feel stupid or if you're embarrassed of what you're doing, then you're doing something right.
Absolutely,
because the less human-like that you are, the more people will be terrified of you, and they'll forget that you're an actor.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes back to the sort of basic human natures of fear.
Yeah.
So if you appear as a human being, you're not that scary. But if you appear as a twisted human being, so i.e. you're slightly demonic, that's not the norm for people that would normally see. So it makes them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And in an audition room, in a rehearsal room, that's exactly what people want to see from you.
Yeah.
It's how far you're willing to go.
Yeah.
And if you do start to feel awkward, just don't. Laugh about it internally, but on the outside, keep a strong face on, and really just go through it. Because what you've got to remember as well, and I'm sure you felt it when I was training you guys, because I got you to do some animalistic behaviour, didn't I?
Yeah.
And I got you to do creatures.
And that was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, and a few of you were like, oh, it's really awkward and really laughing. And then I joined in, and that sort of like calmed you all down, because you're just like, oh, right, okay, everyone's on the same boat here. Because you have got to remember that, is everyone is in the same boat.
Yeah.
Everybody, no matter how experienced or not, no matter what they're doing in that rehearsal room, you could have done it 100 times. You could have done it for your first time. Everybody is going to feel awkward at some point, because if you've never done it before, you don't know what to do, you don't quite know what's expected, it's all new to you. If you have done it before, you're looking at the people that have doing it for the first time, or are doing it for the first time, should I say, in proper English.
Yeah.
And they're coming up to you and doing something that feels awkward to you, because you're just like, oh no, don't interact with me like that, because that's not a part of this exercise now, or whatever it might be. So it happens to everyone. Everyone's feeling awkward, because no one likes doing stuff that's unusual.
Yeah.
And if you do, then fair play to you. I get awkward sometimes doing it, but when I'm in the full get up, when I'm in the maze, when I'm in the situation, or when I'm training, it's totally a different ball game. Nothing's awkward, because you're no longer you're that character. And as long as you can immerse yourself in that world, then to a safe point. If you're playing a serial killer, you don't want to immerse yourself to the point where you actually believe you are a serial killer.
Exactly. Yeah.
You still got to have that professionalism there. But...
Yeah, and it's great to challenge yourself as well. Obviously challenge yourself within legal rights and regulations, as we were just discussing. But, if you come out of the audition and you think, oh, I acted like a complete fool, and, I don't think I've got it, and because I was acting really silly, that's what they actually want to see. And, it was... it's great experience just to go and audition, and if you don't get it, then you can ask for feedback and you can look back on where you went wrong. But majority of the times, if you can act like you like that certain character, if you can act like a zombie and you can add more to it, it looks really good. And obviously in rehearsals as well, all that gets built up, and you do eventually learn how to cope with it with your body and with your voice. And I think that's the most important thing, is to take care of yourself as well.
Absolutely. I mean, when you are in these events, when you're doing them, you have to really think about what food you're eating. Now, a lot of people will tell you to eat healthily.
Yes.
Eat a lot of greens, eat a lot of salads and things like that. What you've got to do is balance that with food that's going to give you energy.
Yes.
Because what you've got to remember is a lot of these attractions, and the vast majority of scary attractions, are built in marquees. Are built in areas outdoors. They're cold places, because in the UK, October's quite cold at that time of year.
Yeah.
Shall we say? I mean, I remember last year it was snowing in October. Come December, not one speck of snow. So that's how cold it can get.
Yeah.
So you've got to make sure you eat food that's giving you enough energy to keep warm and keep your body ticking over, because the worst thing you want to do is get ill. Yeah. If you start to get ill in these environments that you're in, it will spread to the cast members, and no matter how well healthed they are, it affects everything. If you get a little chest cough, it might affect your stomach, because the food that you're eating's not getting digested properly. It might affect your throat and your vocal cords. If you're particularly shouting for a long period of day, if you're not shouting correctly, that can affect your vocal cords. That might cause a throat infection. That throat infection might cause, and it's just a massive wormhole. So eat the food. The thing that I've always done when I've been doing it is I've always ate my comfort foods. Yeah. So I've always made sure I've ate my chocolate and had fizzy drinks. And the reason I do that is that's how I look after my vocal cords. And a lot of people would disagree with that. Yeah. they're like vitamin C's and oranges and steams and things like that. The things that I've always done, I've never changed. Yeah. And I've never had problems like other people have. I think everyone's vocal cords in a way are unique. Like everyone's body is a different shape and everything else. Yeah. So just eat the comfort foods that you like, but balance it with the healthy. You know, make sure you do take your vitamins, because you are going to need them. I don't care how healthy you are. Take vitamins, because they will help, because your body will need the extra.
Yeah, I mean, I used to have a system with like the kind of things that I would eat. You know, majority of the time it was really healthy, but it wasn't healthy as in like salad. Like I tried not to eat any processed food. I tried to actually cook myself warm meals that I could heat up in the microwave, because that is something that is really important.
Absolutely. You definitely need at least one warm meal a day.
Yeah, you want to make... I used to take 2 meals a day, and then like a little treat or something to give me some sugar. But I would 100% recommend that if you like hot drinks, that you should take hot chocolate, coffee, tea, just something to warm you up. And then if you've got a flask, put it in a flask. But always remember, and this is one thing that I can't stress enough, to make sure you take water into the attraction with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you think you've got enough water with you, you haven't. You always need more water than what you think.
Yeah.
Always. But also with that is, if you are taking water into the attraction, think about what you're taking into the attraction. If you've got a massive water bottle that's clearly modern, but you're in like a period attraction, make sure it's hidden out of sight and out of view. Mm-hmm. And if you've got to walk through the attraction with it, hide it. Don't have it out and show, and then like see a guest and shove it down your back or something, because it doesn't look right.
Yeah.
I've seen many people just walk through an attraction and just not a care in the day with holding things that don't look right, you know.
Yeah.
If you're wearing a jacket, whip off your jacket and hold it in your jacket like a baby, for example.
Yeah.
And that really freaks guests out. It's a top tip for you. If you've got a jacket and you walk through the attraction with something, say it could be a guest just lost some artifacts off their person, say, put it in your coat, put it in their arms like a baby. Only if it works the attraction. Don't just do it for like the sake of it.
Yeah.
But if you're walking past guests, start speaking to it like there's a child. Be like, shh, it's okay, Dorothy, it's okay. No, and really freak out the guests just walking past. But make it quick. Yeah. Don't make a thing of it. Don't make it a show. Don't make it a thing. But if guests are looking at you, thinking, what has he got a baby? It really freak them out.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's uneasy. It's unsettling. But yeah, don't just take a massive, say, 3-litre water bottle that says Buxton on the side of it and keep it right next to it all the time, because it'll look really obvious you're a human and not a... Yeah. Not obviously you're a human.
And if you do, make sure that you're using the rat runs to get up to your brakes and up back down, because that's exactly what rat runs are for. They're there to transport you to the different areas of the maze. Absolutely, and to get up to your dressing rooms and things like that. So you need to just make sure that you're keeping it hidden away.
But then, on that note as well, Becky, because obviously you've not done as many attractions as me.
All right.
No, but like you've been quite fortunate in the attractions you've worked. You have had rat runs and things like that, where a lot of places don't have rat runs because of the venues that they're built in. Mm-hmm. So even if you don't have your rat runs, make sure you get through the zones as quick as you can. Yeah. And make sure whatever you do, don't steal scares from anyone else in those zones. No. If you've got to get through, just get through. That's your priority, is get through. Yeah. Maybe have 1 or 2 scares on the way, but don't make a point of scaring people. Just get out. If you've got to get in, get in. If you've got to get out, get out. Don't trundle along. Mm-hmm. Don't just go for a joyride. Get in, get out. You know?
I mean, one thing I will also touch upon as well, which reminded me, is that, some attractions can be outside. The 2 attractions that I've worked on that are professional, one of them was indoors, which was last year, and the year before, 2017, that was outdoors. And I can't stress enough how important it is to make sure that you've got thermals on underneath your costumes. Try and find ones that fit right with your costume, but your warmth is the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It goes back to just looking after your general health. But
yeah, exactly.
When you are outside, especially, a lot of attractions are outside anyway. Like I say, even if you're in a marquee, you're still outdoors, because they're not heated buildings. So it's still going to be absolutely cold. Make sure you are wearing those thermals. You can get them relatively cheaply, can't you? Yours weren't very much.
Mine were about... I paid about £6 for the trousers on Amazon, and then £2 for the top.
Which is nothing,
and
is it?
And they were perfect, yeah.
When you think about how long you're going to be wearing them for and how cold it's going to be, it's really nothing. Less than £10 for your warmth.
Yeah, and like one thing I will say as well is, like, obviously compared to you, I've pretty much had no experience in scare acting because you've done it for years. But I must have done something right, because I happened to be last year one of the only people in the attraction that didn't fall ill. And, it wasn't like illness where, you couldn't still work in the maze because it was just like the common cold. But I was lucky enough not to receive anything like that. And I don't know how I did it. Maybe it was what I was eating, that I was getting enough sleep, that I was keeping myself warm. I don't know what it was, but I must have been doing something right for that to happen. So I would definitely follow all of that advice should you pursue a career in scare acting.
Sure. I think it is just chance of luck as well. I mean, last year I felt quite ill.
Yeah.
For the first time in, I think, ever, actually. I actually was, sorry if it's too graphic. I was actually
Not
sick
at all.
because of, certain circumstances. And that's never happened to me before.
Yeah.
So I think it generally does just come down to, if you're having a bit of tough time in life, like last year wasn't a particularly great year for me anyway, it can really affect you.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure, mental health as well is very important.
Oh, yeah,
in
100%.
If you're not feeling 110%, speak to your managers about it, or whoever's in charge of your attraction.
Yeah, 100%.
Just be like, look, I'm not feeling too great, so could I please have this attraction, for example, today? Which is a lot of independents do. They're not just set in a specific scare zone or scare maze. There's free reign to go to different attractions. There might be one that's more intense and one that's less intense, for example, because they tend to have intensity ratings on them. But just make sure you're looking after yourself across the board.
And it takes a lot to speak up about that stuff as well. So, if you ever have to say, actually, I'm not physically right to be in this room today. Can I go into this room because, I'm doing a script and, I know what I'm going to say. I know what I'm doing. It's I'm not in any sort of chance of being attacked today by a guest or anything like that. And I just need to have time by myself. Can I please go in this room?
Yeah.
To speak up like that is a really brave and big thing to do because, it's you're protecting yourself essentially.
And it all just go down to great teamwork as well. If you've got a team that's supportive and loving, everyone's with you and on board.
Yeah.
So absolutely that. And also you did mention a point about I'm not going to get attacked by guests today.
Yeah.
I mean, scaremongering, but you don't get attacked by guests.
Yeah,
so you always get people that retaliate because you basic human instincts is fight or flight.
Yeah.
So sometimes you jump out on people and they throw a fist in the air.
Yeah.
They're not aiming to hit you.
Yeah.
They're just flinching. There is a massive difference between being assaulted and being in the way.
Yeah.
A huge, huge difference. And I've seen it years and years ago in an attraction. There was several people that got hit nearly every 15 minutes. You could count it when they were going to get hit.
Yeah.
You just knew. And it just basically, they were just a bit too inexperienced and they didn't really listen to what people were saying to them.
Yeah.
And whenever they would do a particular scare, they were quite low down on people, next to the legs and things like that. So they'd get a knee to the face and things like that. Because they were just too close, and they could have just reached their arm out. They just got too close. It's all about body proximity. There's a difference. They weren't aiming to kick somebody. They just had to be there, flinched, you were in the way. Same with the hands. You go up to scare someone in the face, say it's a hands on shoulders mage, which are a lot less common nowadays, which is a shame because I feel like they're a lot more scarier.
Yeah.
Not being able to touch is, we'll get to that, but it's a lot less a lot more scarier than not, for a psychological point of view. But if your hands on shoulders someone and you pop up in between the guests, for example, they've left a good enough gap, and then they've let go of the person's shoulders to grab their chest, but they've knocked your head on the way. That's not them hitting you. That's them trying to get comfort. You just have to be in the way.
Majority of the times, it is a reaction.
Absolutely is.
And I will say 99% of the time, it is like I say, it's a reaction. It's not that people are intentionally trying to hit you, and I'm not trying to put anyone off here because it very rarely does happen. Because luckily for me and for you as well, Kieran, like the attractions that we've worked in, we've been lucky enough to be taught how to get out of that situation if you feel like that's going to happen as well. And so that does happen a lot. You get taught how to step back, but also how to, when you're stepping back, how to still keep in with the theme of the attraction and to make sure that it still works as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, what did you want to add on to that? Was there anything that you wanted to add on to that about hands on shoulders, for example?
Yeah, so, two things really. So, getting back onto that point of if someone is going to hit you, they're very clear with the body movement that they're going to hit you. Mm-hmm. They will be an aggressor. They'll come through with a direct attempt of they're going to hit you because they know that's what they're going to do. That's always what they're going to do. There are certain body tics you can look out for if they're going to do that.
Yeah.
And if an actor before your zone has already said, be careful of that person, watch out for them, get as good a description as you can if it is you in that situation and pass it forward.
Yeah.
And just tell people to stand back. It's one of the best things you can do. It might just be that they're rowdy, they've had a bit too much to drink. A lot of screen parks nowadays only allow you to have 2 drinks.
Yeah.
In your entire trip before going into the mazes. and that's shown in your tickets or your wristbands.
Yeah.
So people, the industry is cracking down on it because it's about looking after people at the end of the day, and guest safety as well. If they're aggressive, they could be a danger to themselves, not just the actors in there. The sets are in themselves sometimes actual mazes where you have to negotiate around. Well, if they're aggressive, they might start hitting the set, which might cause a chain of reactions, which is dangerous for that particular guest. So, but there is definitely a very clear difference between someone just reacting and someone actually being an aggressor and actually going out to hit.
Yeah, and that's why it is so important to communicate, because if you're not communicating, you're not making other people aware that this guest is potentially causing injuries to themselves, but also to you. You need to make sure that you are, working as a team and that you are on the ball all the time.
Yeah, and you always come first.
Yeah,
so if you ever feel in danger and you think this could cause any situation to arise, either get the guests out or just get everyone to step back. In a worst case scenario, get everyone out of the venue.
Yeah.
I mean, that's worst case scenario.
Very well.
But you've always got security teams on standby and your managers there if you need them. 100%. There'll always be an attraction manager with you at some point.
Yeah.
That you can get to. Different events have different names for these people, but there's always someone in charge of the venue. Be it a show captain is in charge of the entire venue, for example. It's most cases. Hands on shoulders. That's what I was going to mention.
Yeah. That's what you were
so the psychological about hands on shoulders. It's sort of not many attractions do it anymore, which is a great shame. So hands on shoulders, you're typically a group of 10 to 12, sometimes 16, depends on the venue and the size of the rooms. But you'd be hands on shoulders and you can't touch the guests.
Yeah.
There is something scary about someone saying they want to rip your face off whilst getting millimetres away from your face but not touching you.
Yeah.
That's scary. Because it's a case of, when are they going to touch me? When are they going to touch me? They haven't touched me, okay, for you, I'm safe. And then someone else goes to do it, and you're like, oh. And you can still do it with hands on shoulders, but if it's free flow, is what most attractions are today, where you just walk through, no hands on shoulders, and you can be touched.
Yeah. If
someone's running up to you saying, I'm going to rip your face off, and then touches your cheek, the next logical step is for your face to be ripped off.
Yeah.
When they don't do that, it breaks the immersion, because it's like, oh, you said you're going to do something, no, you're not. Oh, I'm in no clear danger, this isn't scary.
Yeah.
So I think that's something to sort of consider as well. But also from an actor's safe point as well, if you are touching guests, be careful where you're touching them.
Yeah, 100%.
If you touch them on the boob accidentally, the least you can do is offer a touch back.
Yeah.
Because it's an accidental thing and you don't want to be insulting anyone. But if you do touch them and they start to retaliate, be mindful of that, because you have touched them and you're allowed to.
Yeah.
But, you will get, for anyone that's experienced will know exactly how and what not to touch and things like that. But anyone that's new, that's starting out, you will get taught that, so don't worry. You don't think, oh, we have to touch people now. It's not every attraction you do, and it's getting more common that you do touch guests when they come through now, but it is in a safe, controlled, environmental way. It's not like you're ragging people by the shoulders.
Yeah.
And actually, any attraction I've gone through that have done that, have always really been poor attractions to go through, and you just go, no, that's it.
Yeah.
Not going here again, and not give them a good word. So you always have to be mindful of what the managers and directors want from you.
Yeah, and
always,
I think the reason for that is that obviously, I don't know if this is the case, but attractions tend to be getting more and more intense. It's kind of like some kind of competition.
Yeah.
Because they want to beat themselves as the most intense maze out there in the UK and things like that, and that can happen.
Well, in Europe at the moment.
Well, yeah.
Till Brexit happens, I guess.
Well, that's another podcast episode. No, we won't talk about Brexit.
Who?
Yeah,
Brexit. Is that cereal?
What is that? I don't know what that is. But so another thing I wanted to touch on just slightly is the fact that me and you have both worked in mazes that require you to wear blindfolds.
Yes, hooded mazes.
Yeah,
what a bundle of joy.
They're actually, sometimes it does work. But, that obviously requires you to, say, we are going to touch you in this maze, because obviously if you're blindfolded, where else are you going to get that sense from? But I was fortunate enough to work in a maze that was 2 years ago that had both. It had that chance to scare from a face point of view and also scare from a touching point of view.
Yeah, they're totally different ways of scaring.
Yeah.
Scaring in a hooded maze and scaring in a normal is totally different.
Yeah.
Because I really don't like hooded mazes. I really don't like them, because they're just, from an actor point of view, they're no fun.
I mean,
it's all work and no play with a hooded maze. You've always got to constantly be on the ball, because you're always looking for people that are lifting up the hoods, who are getting lost because they've let go of the rope or chain, whatever it may be. the floor's uneven as well. So as well as you running around to get to these guests, you've got to make sure that the floor's okay, because it uses a full array of your senses. So your touch, your smell, and your hearing, more than your sight, obviously, because you're just wearing a hood over your head.
Majority of these attractions, like, you know, they are sort of slightly easier to work in because you know you're blocking out one of the senses, but you do have to be careful for that kind of thing. And I am going to give a little shout out to my dad here. I'm sorry, Dad, for what you did, but my dad came to visit me in one of the attractions and didn't realise how much the claustrophobic state would be, and he got told he had to wear these like hoods on one of his heads, and he put it on. One of his heads. Well, he's only got one head, I will say that. But
like
yeah,
a dragon or something.
Fluffy from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah. He put the hood on.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway, he put the hood on his head, and you know, he decided it was too much for him and lifted it up halfway through the blindfolded section, which obviously, you know, it does kind of ruin the atmosphere of that maze. But then to have it pulled back down onto his face, he didn't like that at all.
No.
So, you know, there is ways of sort of switching it up and making sure that the guest safety is important, and, you know, and that, you know, it's running smoothly to everyone's comfort.
Yeah,
you know?
There is a way to problem solve that. Is if someone takes the hood off, best thing to do is get in their personal space. Yeah. Because it is a touch maze anyway, so you are in your right to do that. Be gentle with it. You know, grab them just sort of not on the shoulders, but just below the shoulders and this part of the arm. I was going to say forearm, but that's here. The top of the arm.
Yeah,
let's just say that.
The top of your
just
arm,
below the shoulder.
Yeah, just before the shoulder.
Gently grab them there and just be like, you know, do you want to get out or do you wish to continue? If they wish to continue, enforce the rule. That hood has to stay on. If you take it off, you'll be taken out. If they want to get out, just say, okay, not a problem. Break the immersion for them, because 9 times out of 10, you can tell straight away if they're panicking. And if they're panicking, don't try and give them any character. Don't try and keep the immersion. Just break them out of it. Try and keep them calm and get them out as quick and safely as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I do condone my dad an awful lot, because I was at the end of the maze at this point and he decided he wanted to see me, so he managed to get his way through the maze, but he swore never to come through a maze ever again. And my poor mother had to go through alone this year, which you know, I think it's very great. Hi, Mum, if you're listening. You know, if you've happened to want to know how to be a scare actor, Mom, this is the podcast for you.
Yeah, my issue with hooded mazes is it's harder as an actor to get a good scare.
Yeah.
Because what you've got to remember is if you're speaking to someone through a hood, what you would assume would hear is, you know, something like this. It's a bit muffled, it's a bit echoed. What the guest really hears is pretty much nothing. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is their senses aren't really focusing on their listening.
Yes, yeah.
It's on their touch, to feel, because they're following a guide. And they're constantly going, oh, where is it? Where is it? They're talking to themselves. They're talking to the friends. Oh, it's to the left, mate. Oh, yeah, nice one, Jerry. You know, it's wherever it is. And they're not really focusing on the people around them. So when they get a touch, it's like, what was that? Not a, what was that?
Yeah.
Unless, 100%. Of course, they are absolutely petrified of everything. And therefore, they're just going to be screaming throughout the whole thing and not holding on. But so as an actor, you've got to make sure that if you're getting any information to them and you're getting it close to their ears, which you have to do, really, or shout, which is not great for your voice. A lot of hooded mazes, I find, can just be done mostly on audio. Yeah. If you put the sound of the actor speaking on the audio track but make it louder than a normal human speaking voice, you've got a better chance of them actually being scared by a sound, by vocal. And that speaker can be placed perfectly head high by the guests as they walk by. And have a mannequin standing there to give the illusion of something's there. Yeah. For example, saves money, obviously, but and then have your actors focused on the touching element of it and making sure that the guests that are coming off the rope are getting back onto it, or what it is, a chain, rope, whatever. Yeah. I mean, they're not fun mazes. And even to go through, they're not that fun anymore. Yeah. The first ones that came out, I think it was about 2009, 10-ish, they came out, hooded mazes. They were something different. And they really were quite terrifying. Because it had never been seen and done before. You know, you are losing one of your main senses there, which is your sight. So you are trapped in that loop of, I can't see where I'm going. Yeah. You know, you don't know what's around the corner. You don't know where the corner is. Because you can't see it. Now I just feel like they're a bit too overdone, and they're always done in the same sort of style. What we are finding a lot more of now is, of course, is half hooded, half not. Yeah. And about 50-50 chance that the the second part of it, the set part of it, if you like, the non-hooded section is a lot better than the hooded.
Yeah.
Just because the set's there and you didn't get that feeling of the set before. You just felt like you were walking around on some old mattresses and a bit of MDF.
I mean, like, I've only ever worked in hooded mazes. I've never actually been through one myself. But I always find that, like, sometimes it does work, and in my case, the maze that I worked in back in 2017, it did work because it was sort of like a village type of setting, and you know, once they came out of that blindfolded section, they didn't expect to then have, like, you know, scenes where they would see physical actors again. They thought it was still going to be like that.
Sure.
Only, I will say, the only, like, sort of bit that did slightly bother me about working in there and stuff that I found hard is back again when, like, people would lift their masks up, because there was one time where it happened to be a staff preview night for, you know, all the other people that were working in the different departments and people who knew me personally. And I remember I was so engrossed in my character, you know, really into it. And then I just heard, "Oh, hi, Becky," behind me. And I turned around and it was one of the other department staff members that I knew who had lifted their hood up and seen me scare acting.
Yeah.
To which point I had to run over, you know, do something to try and frighten them and then pull their hood back down.
Sure.
Which, you know, obviously is hard, but, you know, it's ruining the atmosphere when there's no setting to sort of, like, if they lift it up.
It's a break of the immersion for everyone else around
Yeah.
them. You know, it's things like that are very difficult. I mean, with being a veteran, you have it all the time.
Yeah.
When you're in a different maze, people come through and you go, "Oh yeah, it's you," and it's like, "Yeah, it's me."
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there's no need to mention it.
Yeah, I mean,
just
if
keep it to yourself.
somebody-
Message me on Facebook later or whatever, or meet me in the
Yeah.
pub. You don't need to sort of scream it's there and there. And it is nice because sometimes, especially with friends that are long distance, for example, they don't often tell you they're going to events, and then you're working there, and they'll just rock up. So if you're working in the maze, and all of a sudden you're seeing your friends you haven't seen for a year.
Yeah,
and it's a really nice surprise, you know.
Yeah, I think the funny thing about it is,
try and still
as well,
keep it in the world of
Yeah.
where you are.
yeah, the funny thing about it is that, like, these people, they don't tell you they're coming in, and you've not seen them for a whole year, and they come in expecting some kind of big hug and like, "Oh my god, how have you been?" and things like that, but you can't because you're working and you're in character.
Yeah.
So you have to sort of, like, if someone goes, "Oh, hi, Kieran," and you're like, "Oh, I know this person," like, you can't just go, "Oh, hi, how are you?" You've got to sort of turn away and act like you didn't know who they were. But then as soon as you go on break, you're like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry."
yeah. See, I'm kind of the opposite. I make them laugh with it.
Yeah.
Because they expect me to crack, but I ain't gonna.
Yeah.
So I've had it before, and people are just like, "Oh my gosh, it's Kieran." I'm like, "Kieran? Who is this Kieran? It's Lord Water, you foolish cretin!" You know, and just gone ape shit on them, and they've been like, "Oh my god," you know, and running out.
I'll always remember when
and then afterwards they sort of message you first and be like, "Oh, that was really funny, thanks for that." And I was like, "Well, you know, you're welcome, but like, don't call me by my name again."
Yeah, I'll always remember when I came through with my friend John, and you and I don't know if Gareth's watching. Hello, Gareth, if you are. But you and Gareth were in this one attraction, and you could just hear, like, you know, that we sort of knew that it was you two because we could tell by your voices and, you know, by certain things that we'd seen before.
Yeah.
And I think that was the funnier thing about it is rather than saying your name and trying to get your attention, it's seeing what you do and seeing how different you are in real life compared to how you are in character. And I think that's the funnier thing about it. If you try and break that person's character, you know, they're going to lose concentration, they're going to lose what they were going to say. You know, it's all about improvisation as soon as that person said your name. But then the scare acting industry is like, it relies heavily on improvisation anyway.
Yeah, it's
so
80% improv.
Yeah, there's so many unexpected moments that you don't expect. But yeah, it looks like that's actually going to be a wrap on this podcast today, because we've been we've been talking for about 50 minutes, I think. You know, once you have a podcast something that you're so interested about, you know, you can lose track of time. But you know, if you do enjoy this podcast and you want an episode on auditions in general, then, you know, let us know in the comments, and I'm sure you'd be more than happy to.
Or like any specific part of that we've sort of roughly talked about. If anyone wants to hit us up about that,
exactly. Yeah.
I'll come back and talk about it. And if anything's been unclear, let us know.
Yeah, exactly. But thanks for being on the podcast with me, Kieran.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for
inviting me.
inviting
You've been pretty
me on.
awesome. Yeah. So yeah, and also anyone who's been listening today, thank you so much for tuning in to my first episode. And if you liked it, give this episode a thumbs up, subscribe on YouTube, and leave us a comment below telling me what you want to hear next. And I'll see you soon for another podcast. Would you like to join in with the outro?
Yeah, sure.
It's just a really long goodbye. You ready? So 3,
Okay.
2, 1.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.